Now we're taking it all the way to the extreme. Open source comes out of the software movement. And the idea of open source is I give you the blueprints to my software. I give you all the software. And I just let you do whatever you want to do with it. And it comes out of the hacker ethos of the 60s and 70s, when computers were still used not by corporations, but by people in universities. So I wrote like a piece of software which solved a problem, and instead of just keeping it for myself, I gave it to other people. I said, you can use this. And by the way, here's the blueprint to it, the source code, so you can modify it. And what happened is a community started to form, and a codex formed, where people said, if I'm doing this, and I find a problem, a bug in the software, I send it back to the original author so that everybody benefits from my findings. If I make an improvement, I'm sending it back to the original author so everybody can profit from it. This leads to a very vibrant ecosystem. The most used server operating system today is a software called Linux, which is completely open source. It's a whole bunch of people who say, you know what, we want to make this happen. And it displaced Microsoft Windows as the dominant server operating system. I want to give you a different example. This is interesting. WordPress. Anyone has heard of WordPress? A few people, right? So WordPress is what is called a content management system. So WordPress is a software you use to create beautiful looking websites. WordPress has a really interesting story. The backstory is this. In 2001, blogging became popular. So blogging is this people writing what they had for breakfast basically on like a website. So a bit like Twitter today, minus the US president, of course. So it became very popular for people to put this stuff on the internet. So a gentleman wrote a software called B2, which allowed him to write blogs. And then he was thinking about, hey, if it's useful for me, why don't I give it to the community and let other people work with this? So this is 2001, and a pretty vibrant community of people evolved around this, using his software, making some modifications, making it a little bit better. In 2003, the original author said, it's not my business, I don't care about this stuff all that much anymore, I just abandon it, I don't want to do this anymore. And these two guys, Matt Mullenweg and Mike Little, picked it up and said, because we have the blueprint, we can modify it, right? So 2003, they picked this up, and they create WordPress out of it. 2004, they relaunched the product as WordPress. Now, WordPress is a really interesting piece of software today. Again, the whole software is free to use. You can download the source code. You can make your own modifications. It's all there. In 2016, last year, WordPress powered 26% of the web. Every fourth website on this planet which you visit runs on WordPress. It is by far the most influential piece of software ever being written, likely. It also is huge. It's available in 56 languages, of which the original WordPress team produces one. The rest is done by volunteers. They say, I want to have WordPress in Portuguese, Brazilian Portuguese, so they write it in Brazilian Portuguese. And then they make it available to the whole community, right? So it's a community service. There's 45,000 plugins. These are pieces of software which make WordPress better at what it does or add specific functionality. Again, a lot of these free to the community. WordPress has 175 million users. Compare this with about 250 million users for the largest website in the world, which is Google. But Google achieves this goal with 70,000 employees. WordPress has 543 employees. It's tiny. But it's also good business. WordPress raised $190 million in equity funding. Now the question becomes, how does this actually work as a business model, right? It's interesting because you give your stuff away. How can you even run a business on this? Well, I can tell you it's easy. What they do is they sell you services. They say, here's the software, and take it and do whatever you want. But if you want to host this on our specialized servers, you pay us a little fee. If you want us to create some special version for you, you pay us a little fee. There's a similar business model with a company called Red Hat. They're distributing Linux, the operating system. Again, Linux is free. You can just download it. You can go to the Red Hat website and download Linux and install it for yourself. Red Hat is a $1 billion profit, not revenue, profit business. The reason why they make $1 billion in profit is because they found an interesting hack. They say, here's the software for free, but you pay us some money for the services. You pay us for the privilege that there's someone doing customer support for you. It's a really weird world. You can build really interesting businesses on top of open source.